Welcome to Leading with Artivism. Leading with Artivism is a live monthly interview series created and curated by Poet Gold in collaboration with Arts Mid-Hudson, featuring a diverse mix of artivists, artist activists who have taken up the charge through their art to highlight social issues. We invite you to ask questions and get an inside look at the hearts and minds of these courageous creatives.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the second season. Yes, we are in our second season of Leading with Artivism, and I am so excited for the season ahead of us and the artists that we have lined up. And I'm particularly happy that we're kicking off this season with one of my favorite Hudson Valley artists, Barbara Masterson. Barbara, can we bring Barbara to the front of the screen? Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Gold. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Fine.
So why don't we start here before we really get into the meat of your work and look at some of your paintings. Why don't you share with us your thoughts, an artist statement maybe that you may have today?
I'd love to. This is my artist statement. Forgive me, I'm going to have to read it.
Go right ahead. It's quite all right.
Art is like a serum, transforming its audience for good or ill. As I paint, the play of light has taken my breath away. Migrant workers came into view. They have transformed my vision. Familiar shapes in fields and orchards, migrant workers toil in the Hudson Valley, doing jobs most Americans won't. Earning modest wages, sometimes risking deportation. Hard at work, they summon our attention and invite us to come closer, to see their labor and their humanity. Who are they? Can you see them? It's possible for society to confer invisibility on a group. It's convenient. If the group is invisible, we relieve ourselves of concern about healthcare, working conditions, pesticides, housing, lack of ability to get their own food. What is life like for them? What role do we play in keeping them unseen? My work can expand our perception of these workers. If only by their images in my paintings, the viewer will come to see these persons for the vital role they have in our lives.
I could not have written it any better. Thank you for sharing that. I think that is meaningful and it's mindful. Let's bring up your work and let's talk about it. Let's really get into it.
Cool.
So can you tell me a little bit about this first piece?
I painted this during COVID. I normally work extremely large. This is a very small painting. It's, I'm going to guess 8 by 10 inches.
Okay.
I found during COVID that I couldn't concentrate on large, complicated pieces. So I went to smaller pieces, and this is a gentleman sorting through cherries.
Can you share with our audience what your process is like so that, obviously during COVID, you weren't in the field, the migrant workers weren't in the field?
Well, actually, the workers were in the fields, but I had very little contact with them the past 2 years because of COVID. And I'm not quite sure what the protocol is for them to get here and who's vaccinated or if they are not vaccinated. So that was an issue.
So were you painting there, or what's that process for you?
My process is I generally go into the fields when I can. And many of the workers I know now for 6 years, and they'll give me a hug or, kind of be bored by me if they see I'm coming because they know what I'm going to do. And I think they get a chuckle out of it. And I speak with them, and with their permission, I take their photographs as we're talking. And then once I'm back home in my studio, I go through those photographs and sometimes combine several photographs. For instance, the painting we're looking at now is not just one photograph. I combined a couple of photographs to develop this image. So I work from photographs and that I take, and generally work very large.
Initially, how did you earn their trust? You know, because not as an artist, it's not every day someone says, "Hey, can I?" Even for photographers, you know, can I take pictures of you? I mean, obviously, you were there with them over an extended period of time. How did that trust building take place?
Well, initially, I was painting them in the fields. I had my studio. My studio was in the fields, so as I was painting the landscape and they came into view, I would gesture them in as figures, as colorful figures in the fields. And they got a kick out of that. And so I would introduce myself and ask if I could take a photo of them while they were working. And some would say yes, and some would say no. Usually the women are more reluctant for me to take their picture. And I don't know the reason for that. It could be they're nervous about being recognized if they're here illegally, or vanity, or it could be a religious reason. But so mostly the men I take pictures of. And then after I do a painting, I would give them a print of a painting that they are in. And so I think the trust was built slowly like that.
Do you, this is a question from one of our audience members, do you recommend artists take to empower such community?
Well, what I try to do, if I'm answering your question correctly, is I try to get my paintings seen in solo shows so that they make an impact, to an impact on the viewer, to make the viewer start asking themselves questions about who harvests their food, and all of the ideas around that basic question. And another idea that I have actually is I want to apply for a grant to make some of my paintings even larger than they are, like 10 by 20 feet or something considerably large, into banners, and then find places, which I've already been working on, to hang them in places that the children of the workers can see, that the workers can see, so they can see themselves.
And for you, is that a step, you know, because I've realized I'm reading this question, is that a step that you feel would empower the community? Because the person wanted to know, what steps do you recommend?
I think it would empower them. I mean, for children to see their parents hard at work, and you know, I paint them with high regard, and I think that comes through in my work. And so it would be very positive for kids to see the hard work that their parents are doing, and the workers to see that as well.
I think you have another piece in here. Can we move on to the next piece, if that's the case? Right. You know, what I've always noticed about your work, Barbara, is how lifelike these paintings are. You know, the colors are beautiful, but it has life in it. And so one of the questions is there a book coming, maybe?
Well, actually, I have a book written.
You do?
I do, but I have not found a publisher. So, I mean, I'm sure I would have additions to the existing text and images, because I've been working every day. So I do have a book in my computer. I want to show you what I have actually presently. This is a pamphlet that I made that shows 12 drawings of the men that I know the best. And in the pamphlet, it asks questions of each subject.
Okay.
And so when I show these 12 drawings, I have these available for the public to take. So I have that, and I also have this, which is a booklet that I created to send to curators and gallerists and people who are seriously interested in my work.
Wonderful, wonderful. Your coloring. Let's talk about the color and how it relates to the subject matter.
Well, I love color. I really love color. Typically, the colors that workers wear aren't this vibrant, but I want viewers to take notice. And through color, I think that's one way to do that.
So when you looked at your subjects, did you feel as if there was a particular color that was coming through them? Did you look at someone and go, wow, I really feel like this person has this orange, or this bright yellow light around them?
Yes.
and that's how you related to what color you was going to give them?
Yeah.
How long would you spend in the field?
You mean painting them in the field or photographing them?
Both. What did you do them on separate days? I mean, did you,
well, when I was
photograph
painting,
and then
in 2000, this started in 2015, when I was on a local farm painting their fields, the migrant workers came into view, and I started gesturing them in while I was on location. And while I was doing that, I was also taking pictures of them. So I did that all summer long, and I knew what fields they were going to be in and what they were going to be picking or weeding. And so I got to know them and continued to take pictures. And then they left in the fall. And I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. And then I was inspired to look at the photographs that I took of them and start painting them in my studio. And I've now been doing that 7 years.
So the farm that you were on, did the, I guess obviously you said to the person, whoever owned the farms, can I come over? And
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And I always ask permission of the workers. And most of them say yes, but occasionally someone will say no, and I totally respect that. And I had a conversation with some men that I had a couple of year relationship with, and when the presidency changed a couple of years ago, they became more guarded because they were very nervous about being deported.
Absolutely, understandably so. Understandably so. And they may have been very apprehensive at that point to converse with you and have a conversation with you, because obviously there was a trust factor of, well, who do I trust?
Right.
Who do I trust? Did you find that each year there was a different group of migrants, or is it consistently the same migrants that come through a particular area and work on a particular farm?
It seems to be a particular, very particular group. One farm I work with, they have fellows from Jamaica, and they also have fellows from Mexico. And those both of groups of them, I have known them now 6 years. And so I've gotten to know who is a grandfather and who just had a baby at home and who needs a couple of bicycles to send to their grandkids. And so it's been great. It's transformed my life and my work.
Wonderful. Is there another painting here? Let's talk about this gentleman.
This is Desmond.
Okay.
Desmond is 70 years old.
Wow.
And he's one of my favorite to paint. He's got very kind eyes, and I wonder, is he married? Does he have a family back home? I don't know, but these are questions that come to my mind.
So you haven't really had the conversation to be able to converse with Desmond on that level?
I don't want, I want to be interested, but I don't want to be prying.
Okay.
So if I get the sense that a worker is a little reserved, I try not to probe into what their life is like.
Okay.
But I'm certainly curious about all of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Why did you choose to paint him in black and white versus the other ones who had all these colors?
Well, this happens to be a drawing. It's not a painting.
Right. Okay.
And it's, I saw an exhibit at the Modern a couple of years ago of Charles White, and he used these wolf pencils and he drew these beautiful drawings. And so I decided I had to get some wolf pencils, which is a combination of charcoal and graphite.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started doing these large scale drawings.
Now you have a show up, don't you,
I
at
do.
the Falcon? Can you tell our, before we take your this last painting down, drawing down, can you share the information with our audience?
Sure. I have a show up at the Falcon. I think I have about 25 drawings and paintings there. Unfortunately, because of COVID, they've been shut now for quite some time. They're reopening February 17th. And they asked me if I would be willing to keep my work there till the end of March, if not longer. So I'm thrilled at that. And I'm hoping to have, I had a reception, but I'm hoping to have some other event that people can come, but people can certainly go enjoy the music at night. And hopefully their Sunday brunch will be back, which is fabulous.
Enjoy the brunch, enjoy the music, enjoy the art on the wall.
Yeah.
The Falcon is located on 9W in Marlboro, New York. And so it's really a beautiful place to go visit. So Barbara, I want to thank you for being here. I do have a couple of more questions for you. Why, when we talk about the invisibility, you spoke about this a bit in your artist statement, but what struck you? What compelled you to do your migrant work? So you could have, with the capabilities, you could have picked any subject matter, so to speak, told any story. Why the migrant worker?
Well, I think it's an important story, and it's an important issue for our country to look at how all of the issues that surround how they get here, how they live here, how their health care is, how they eat. They feed our nation. They feed our nation. And so initially, I didn't know how long this muse would take hold of me. But I continue to paint. I paint every day. And I'm going to keep painting and drawing them until somebody says, okay, you've done this enough. But I don't see that anytime soon.
What comments, is a question here that came in, what comments do collectors make? Are they touched by the subjects and the sensitivity with which you paint them? I had to put my glasses on for that.
Yeah, I just that. Well, it brings to mind one collector who came, she saw my work at a show, a regional show, and she wanted to purchase something, and she came here, and she was very emotional. And as I took the painting off the wall, she started to well up in tears because she told me that the painting I did of Vincent, who I've painted many times, really touched her soul.
Did she say how it touched her soul? By chance, did she share that, or do you remember? Do you recall?
I don't really remember.
Okay, all right. Have you ever worked in a factory, someone asked, or done any field work?
Actually, when I was in high school, I worked in a factory.
Look at that.
And so I know that kind of work. And as you know, we have a farm here.
Yes.
So I work in the fields. We do not have migrant workers here. We're not big enough. There are 5 women that run this farm. My partner, my daughter-in-law, and granddaughters all work the farm. And we are in the hay fields, baling hay and moving cows around and planting 400 onions. So I have onions for the year. Uh, so I have experience with this kind of work.
Wow. And when I'm just thinking back, because I've been on Barbara's farm. Barbara and her partner were gracious to lend us their land, so to speak, for the filming of my last project, Say Their Names, a collaboration with Sabrina, a sculptor here in the Hudson Valley. And thank you for that. But when you say it wasn't large enough, to me, your farm was, huge in the way that you guys are able as a family to maintain it. And it's like bulls and big pigs and so yeah, it's quite an experience. I have never worked in on a farm in the field on a level of that. My family, I have aunts and uncles who live in the South who had a cotton farm, and I remember when I was a kid visiting for the summer and getting my hands pricked, and they also had tobacco. But I've never, to answer the person's questions, I've never worked really seriously in a factory or done field work. But here's a question I thought was interesting. How is this artwork, artivism, not exploitation or aestheticization? You want to take that first?
Well, that's a tough one. That's a real tough one.
I mean, I can jump in there.
I'm sorry.
I said I can jump in there if you want me to answer first, and you can take it.
Well, I'll tell you what my thoughts are, and then I'm trying to make the invisible visible.
Gotcha. Right. Understood.
And art goes where words don't often go. So to me, it portrays people in ways words cannot, and it further explores and completes thoughts that are conveyed with words. But I'd be glad to hear what you think.
No, I think, that's it. Artivism for me is an artist who activates the heart to raise a level of awareness about a social issue, about an environmental issue, or even today about a technical issue with all the social media and how we approach that. And so I don't really look at your work as exploitation in any way. I look at it as raising the voices of those that people may look at in a certain way. It's sort of when we watch the UNICEF commercial, or it always depicts the children or victims of a flood in a certain way, but it never talks really about the life of the people. It never really connects you on a real human level. It connects you on a victimization level. I need to take care of these people, but I don't really think they have lives, so to speak, or I don't know their lives. But it never really connects you there. It never shows you the beauty of the human being, the whole human being that this person, which I feel your painting does. They have children, they have a life, they have a story.
Indeed. Well said. Thank you.
So what happens is someone donates money, but they don't connect to the person. And so I think that for me, this is what your paintings do. They take the migrant worker away from the traditional narrative.
Right.
And lets you see the human being. And for me, that's artivism. It's beyond beauty. It's activating another human being's heart to say, consider this person.
Well said. Beautiful.
And so that's what I remember the first time I saw your work, I was particularly moved by it. I don't remember the first time, actually. I don't know if it was through a rural migrant ministry event or if it was at the Falcon.
It could have been either one.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I know that you've done some work with RMM as well.
Right. Yes.
Can you talk about that relationship and tell the audience a little bit about who Rural Migrant Ministry is?
Whew, you'd probably be better at that than me.
Okay, well, go for it.
Rural and Migrant Ministry is a group of people that support low-income workers, and in many ways, actually. And they have, how did I get involved with them? I had a show at the Falcon, and one of the people that were associated with the RMM happened to be there, and we struck up a conversation, and it all started like that. And then I started to understand all the good that they do. And so very often when I have a show, I will donate a percentage of my paint sales from my paintings to them, and also to the Workers' Center for Justice.
Fantastic. Go see Barbara's work. Barbara Masterson, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Can you give us the date for the Falcon show again? I know you said it's up already and it goes sometime into March.
It will run through at least the end of March, if not longer.
Okay. Well, it's the walls are beautiful at the Falcon for art. So I think that when you go into the Falcon, if you've never been to the Falcon before, you're in for a treat. Enjoy the food, enjoy the music, and enjoy the art on the wall. Thank you, everyone, for being here today for Leading with Artivism. We have a gentleman coming up, Vince Valentine, will be here for the month of February, the fourth Thursday of the month. And thank you once again. I'm Poet Gold, your host. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you, Gold.